Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Agile Scrum Project Management series. This video is a second part of Scrum Artifacts. As you know, we already discussed different type of artifacts, including main Scrum artifact and extended Scrum artifact in our previous video. Now, in this video, we will discuss product backlog and understand what the product backlog is, what product backlog contains, and how product backlog is prepared. Then we will also see the properties of product backlog items. So let's go ahead and look at the product backlog item. Well, whenever a Scrum team works on any project or product, the entire project is divided into a list of items for team to work on. That list contains all the required things which needs to be done within a project. This list is prepared according to the customer's requirement that he wants to have in the project or the final product, which is known as product backlog list. So, we can say that the product backlog is a list of new features, enhancement, bug fixes, tasks, or other work requirement that is needed to build a product. It is prepared based on market demand, competition analysis, general business analysis, and as per customer needs. The important point is that the product backlog is a live artifact, which means it is updated every time whenever new information is available. Basically, the product backlog replaces the traditional requirement specification artifacts. So, in simple words, we can say the product backlog items are user centric that contains both technical and non-technical information. Next, let us understand who is the owner of backlog items. The owner of the product backlog items is Scrum product owner, who is sometimes referred to as the product owner. The product owner creates these backlog items based on the discussion with the client and their requirement, and uses the backlog items during the sprint planning meeting to describe the top entries for the team to add to the sprint backlog. Then the Scrum team determines which item they can complete during the coming sprint. That simply means the product backlog is a set of multiple epics, features, user stories, and tasks. Apart from this, as I mentioned earlier, the product backlog also contains a list of new features, any additional changes that need to be made to the existing feature, bug fixes, changes to the infrastructure, and several other activities that the team must deliver to ensure a particular outcome. So, the product backlog is a full list of work items that need to be delivered as a part of any project. And as the project progresses, a lot of new backlog items would be added to the product backlog list as the dynamics of particular scenario keeps changing. And based on the scenario, the work items are reprioritized and additional work items are kept added to the backlog list depending on those dynamics. The next topic is the properties of product backlog items. Well, each backlog item in the product backlog list has certain properties that differentiate it from a simple to do list, such as add value, backlog is ordered, different level of details, all entries are estimated. The Scrum product backlog is a living document, no low level tasks. Now let's understand each of these topics one by one. The first one is add value. Every entry in the product backlog item always adds value for the customer. Next is backlog is ordered. All the entries in the backlog are prioritized and ordered. The product owner prioritizes the backlog items with the help of Scrum team on the basis of added value, cost and risk, which are the most common factor for prioritization. With this prioritization, product owner decides what should be done next. Next is different level of details. The requirement in the product backlog have different granularity. So only those requirements are defined in greater details which has high priority and will be implemented during one of the next sprint. So the level of details depends on the position of the entry within the product backlog. Then we have all entries are estimated. It simply means all the entries of the product backlog must be estimated according to the agreed definition. Then this estimation can be used to prioritize entries in the product backlog and to plan release. The product backlog is a living document, which means the new requirements can be added and the existing requirements can be modified at any point of time throughout the project, which ultimately maximizes the customer value and minimizes the development efforts. Then we have no low level task. Actually, the product backlog should not contain the detailed required information. Ideally, the final requirements are defined together with the customer during the sprint. And the further breakdown of these requirements is the responsibility of the Scrum team. Now, let us move ahead and understand the working of the product backlog items. In Agile, the product backlog items need regular attention and they need to be managed carefully for a project. That means at the start of any project, the product owner and the Scrum team should start by writing down everything they can think of easily. That is always more than enough for the first sprint. Then, after this initial step, the product backlog should be maintained in an ongoing process and must follow some steps. And those steps are addition of new item, ordering backlog, prepare high priority item, re-estimation of entries. Now let's understand each of these. Addition of new item. While working on any sprint, whenever new items are discovered, they should be described and added to the list. And at the same time, existing items should be updated or changed if required. Next is ordering of backlog. Once the new item is added to the product backlog list, the most important backlog item should be moved to the top of the list. And based on the new order, the product owner should prepare the high priority items for the next sprint planning meeting. And then finally re-estimate the entries in the backlog list. This is how the product backlog items are managed. So it's the product owner's responsibility to make sure that the backlog items are good in shape and it is a collaborative process. The collaborative maintenance of the product backlog helps to clarify the requirement. So during the sprint in the Scrum framework, 10% of the total time should be reserved for maintaining the product backlog, mainly for discussion, estimation, or for other activities. Now let's summarize the video. So in today's video, we understand what product backlog is, what it contains, who is the owner of backlog items, how the backlog is prepared, and the properties of product backlog items. In the next video, we will continue the Scrum artifact and will cover the remaining main artifacts. Till then, thanks for listening. Have a nice day.